I'm making a game where you're a decayed cyborg and you have to type to move and attack. If you've been following me for a while, you know I like making games with weird reload systems. So I'd been thinking it would be neat to have a game where you literally type the word reload to reload. And then that morphed into this concept of a game where you type in all of your actions like moving and attacking. Now I've already got a main project game I'm working on, The Lurking Fear, but I thought this would be a good side project to quickly make so I could actually release a game this year. I threw together a prototype to test the concept. You can move, stop, pick up items, heal, equip weapons, and attack all by typing commands. To choose where to move or attack, I made this basic coordinate system with letters vertically and numbers horizontally. By typing move or attack and a letter number combination, and then pressing enter, you'll move to or attack that location. I decided not to have the player actually have to type reload to reload though, because just doing move and attack inputs felt challenging enough. I then made a very basic enemy to fight, and after playing a little, decided this prototype felt fun enough to pursue further. I reached out to Angela He to do the art. I wanted a colorful, overgrown, rusty machinery vibe, and we decided to reuse the art from Neural Rot, a previous project we did together, along with a bunch of new assets she would make. I drew this mock-up of the player character, and after getting new assets from Angela, got to work making the game's final visuals. Here's the first area of the game, what I call the gardens. The main wall is a hedge that's a polygon 2D with a custom shader on the edge to make it more organic looking. There's dappled sunlight that's just a texture with an additive material, and a lot of flowers everywhere. I also made heavy use of canvas scaling and basic drop shadows to get a nice pseudo 3D effect. In this section of the game, you'll encounter two kinds of enemies. The spider, a melee enemy that moves and turns slowly, making it easy to dodge its attacks and hit it from the sides or back, and the rib tank, a ranged enemy with two cannons and a very long reload animation. So you just have to dodge the initial attack to kill it. My design process was to basically look through the assets I got from Angela and try to figure out creative ways to stick them together. Like I had asked for hands in different poses that I could animate to show the player typing when you enter commands, and then I realized it would be cool to just stick a bunch around the base of the rib tank to make it look like that's how it moves. Then for the spider, I saw these hands and thought they would look cool stuck to its side, waving slowly as an idle animation, and with a flexing animation when it takes damage. For the game story, I thought it would be cool to base it off Arthurian mythology, specifically the Grail quest. So you're some ancient knight somehow kept alive in this weird crippled cyborg body, and you need to find the Grail, which is some mystical device that can reverse an ancient apocalypse to restore humanity, or something like that. And with that basic idea, I reached out to Nessa Cannon, who wrote the story for my games Endoparasitic 1 and 2, to collaborate with for this story. For conveying story, I made this little NPC that you talk to by typing the words that appear when you're near it. It feels pretty fun and interactive, and I'll add more interactable NPCs in the future. One of my design ideas is to make every interaction be done by actually typing out the interaction, like unlocking a door is done by literally typing unlock door with key, and the same for picking up items, like typing pick up medkit. I noticed as long as these longer inputs are unique and don't happen very often, it's fun and doesn't get tedious to type them. Some fun extra details I've added, I made so the player character will actually look at the nearest enemy, and you leave tread tracks when moving around, and when you heal there's an animation of a little robotic arm extending and injecting a needle into you before retracting. By the way, a few months ago I made a public repository with lots of code and tools that I use in my games, and have been steadily expanding and improving it as time goes on. Lots of the code in this game come from this repo, such as the menus, save game system, setting system, and all the effects like bullet impacts, drop shadows, and blood splatters. So if you're making a 2D game in Godot, I recommend checking it out, link in the description. Alright, now for the important part, the game's name. I did a lot of brainstorming, and my goal with the name was to convey a few different vibes. Grand, sci-fi, fantasy, technology, quests, legends, ancient runes, that kind of thing, which is not easy to do in just a couple words. But what I finally settled on was Camelot 10,000 CE. The word Camelot conveys the fantasy quest vibes, and 10,000 CE conveys the sci-fi and technology vibes. I debated for a while on whether to use AD or CE, and ultimately settled on CE because it sounds more modern, which I thought would be an interesting contrast with the word Camelot. Angela also suggested CE because Camelot starts with the letter C as well. I had also toyed with calling it Camelot 8080 AD because 8080 is a reference to a famous early computer chip, and because 8080 AD sounds funny. But 10,000 is just a much cooler, cleaner looking number, so I went with that instead. Anyways, go wishlist Camelot 10,000 CE on Steam. I'm hoping to release by the end of December. And if you have any suggestions on what to add, leave a comment.